So as a busy parent like myself who also day trades, something that helped me become a little bit more consistent and get payouts that kind of help, pay for bills, things that kids need, even little small things like tickets to a concert or, a hotel room if you want to go on a vacation, was having like a structured checklist, especially as a working parent. So I wanted to go through my checklist that I have, that kind of helps me stay organized and look for quality over quantity on my trades and kind of increase my win rate. All right. So for me, looking at my checklist here, zoom in. And this could be, you can like kind of change this based on how you trade. For me, I'm an intraday trader, right? Meaning my bias can change every few days based off what the higher time frame is doing, as well. So it depends on your work schedule, your kid schedule, right? So for me, what I like to do the first part of my checklist is, one, I want to go to the higher time frame the night before and look at the bias and try to get my bias. If it's bullish, I know that the next morning I'm going to be looking for bullish PD raise, bullish order flow. If it's bears, obviously the opposite. For me, I like to wake up early, at least an hour early, and check the overnight price action and see what happened. Right? Did we somehow change direction overnight? Is it matching according to what I'm thinking? Right? For me, I like to stick with the bias. Most of the time I like to stick with the trend. I don't like the counter trend trade. For me, also something for me as I'm working with my kids to get them up in the morning ready for school. It's versus instead of having to wait for constantly checking the charts and stuff like that. One thing I've been doing is just waiting for the candle closes. Right, I'll just wait for the candle, like the 1 hour candle to close or the 4 hour candle to close. Majority of the time for me, it's the 1 hour, and then also try to find time to journal, as well, like what trades you did or did not take and what happened, so you can kind of reinforce your trading checklist in your head. So I'll kind of go through that, as well. So I'll go through like the chart, kind of what I'm looking for on a day. All right. Here. So, like I said, the night before, this is June 2nd candle. The night before, I'm going to the higher time frame. I'm looking at my bias, right? So obviously here we're bullish. Take out the sell side liquidity. We close below this February gap. We close below this high, right? Then we recumulated at this February gap, right? So for me, this bullish order flow. So for now, I'm looking for each day to continue bullish, right? I have no reason to look for sales here, especially at all-time highs, right? Just gonna keep going. All right. So the night before, I'm determining my bias. I'm going to sleep knowing the next morning I'm bullish. So I got that. Now, the next part of the checklist, I like to wake up an hour early before my trading session. All right. So my trading session is New York. Not more specifically, New York equities open. All right. Let me remove some of this stuff here. You kind of see where I was going. So on my chart, I have, the daily hours here. So the daily candle. All right. So if we're looking at Tuesday, June 2nd, as an example, my session starts around here, 8:30, right? So I'm usually up around that time, about 5:30, because I need to want to get the kids ready, get the kids up for school. But as soon as I wake up, I'm looking at the overnight price action. All right, so based off the higher time frame, I'm seeing what happened. So at midnight, we came up, closed above this February this February gap, creating an IFEG, right? Displaced upwards during London, right? We came back down during New York to this February gap here, right? So at 8 a.m., I'm kind of like analyzing what happened before I get in, right? I know in terms of intraday into bias, I'm aiming for the previous day's high. So we're going back to the checklist. I'm checking the overnight PA, all right? the next thing I want to do is, rather than like as I'm walking with the kids to get them ready for school, making their breakfast, heading out to go to the bus stop, I waited for those 1 hour closes. Before I used to like check the charts every 5 minutes, trying to see a move, but I've got more patient in my trading. So after you tap into this fair value gap left over right from the overnight PA, 9 a.m. we took that out. We reacclimated here. We close bullish. All right, so that's my C2 closure. All right, so let me mark that out. All right, that's a C2 closure I'm looking for. So I'll wait for that candle to close. All right, throughout this whole time, I'm just kind of looking at my phone as I'm working with the kids. But, I'm waiting for 9 a.m. candle to close. So I'm driving along. All right, I'm probably like taking the kids to school or something like that. Throughout that time, I'm looking at my phone. All right, like I'm setting alerts. All right, I wait for 9 a.m. candle to close. 10 a.m. opens up. By 10 a.m., that's around 7 a.m. I'm in Los Angeles. So I'm probably like on my way to dropping my son off at the bus stop. All right. From there, I already know what I'm looking for. I'm bullish on the higher time frame. I got my checklist done. I got the C2 closure, liquidity here for value gap. On the short term, liquidity is taken out here. So from there, all I need to do is wait for entry pattern, and I can obviously do that, as I'm driving. I'm waiting at the bus stops. All right. For me, what I like to do here, after the 10 a.m. candles open, I wait for some type of pullback and inversion of a PD array, which we got here, right? Which is this 5-minute fair value gap. If we would have respected this and gone down, then I feel like we would have been down here. But the fact that we inverse this lets me know that we're going to be bullish up to that liquidity level I was talking about, which is this previous day's high right here. Then I go down to the 1 minute, look for my entry. Once we inverted that 5-minute fair value gap, I'll look for reaccumulation on the 1 minute, right? I'll look for the same thing. So we got that. We closed above here, right? That 5 minute. We came back, took out this short term liquidity. We inversed this fair value gap here, all right? That's IFAG. So from there, you could have got in. You got all the confirmations you need right there. So you might have been driving on your way to school. This is 7:42. So I'll put it on my way to work, on my way home here. You could have set an alert. This is what I'll be looking for here. For me, I did not take this trade today because I don't like this. This is all just sloppy, right? But this could have been an opportunity here. Could have been potential 3 to 6, right? So it's all about again, just being organized and structured, right? For me, having that bias already predetermined, waking up an hour early, to check your PA, being patient, waiting for those 1 hour, 4 hour closes, depending on how you trade. And then from there, it's all about just looking for the entry pattern after you get those confirmations, all right? Boom, easy trade. The last thing I do, and this doesn't matter when you do, as long as you get it done, right, is journaling, right? So I like to create case studies, what I call case studies, right? So here's an example of a case study I do, right? So for the day, I write up the instrument I was trading, the day, what my bias was, right? This is obviously a little earlier. I write down what my key levels were. In this particular example, it was a 1 hour key level. On June 2nd, the key level would have been for very guy from Asia, right? Then I just kind of go through my mindset of the trade, right? So after midnight, price expanded up, took up previous day's high before selling the discount, right? Tap into the 1 hour order block. Here, the mindset would have been kind of what I discussed. At midnight, we displaced up, tap into this 1 hour for very gap, C2 closure at 9 a.m. At 10 a.m., I went for that pullback on the 5 minute, then 1 minute reaccumulation out of that 5 minute area. entry there up to the previous day's high, right? For me, journaling just kind of helps me reinforce, my checklist and my process, right? So that way it kind of becomes second nature in terms of like what I'm looking for. So once if I go outside those rules, then it's my fault. It's not the price action. It was me. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. So I just want to go through like my checklist to help me stay organized. So I'm by no means rich or profitable, but I have been a little more consistent, in terms of the trades I take and when to trade, when not to trade as well. So hopefully that helps somebody who's looking to find ways to trade while they're a busy working parent.